I want this evening to give you this teaching called the Three Geulot. So please feel free to share this teaching. I hope it will make a deep impact on you. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה. Blessed are you, King of the universe, who commanded us to be diligent in the word of the Torah, in the mighty name of our Messiah. Amen ve'amen. All of us going to open this book that is called the Haggadah, and we're going to start reading it on Friday evening, the story of the Exodus out of Egypt. What is the theme of Pesach, and how is it related to you and to us on the macro level and in the micro level? I want to take a step back for just one moment and try to answer this in a way that we understand that when we're talking about Geulah, the word Geulah, the theme of Pesach, the reason Pesach is so important, the theme of Pesach is Geulah, okay? Now, if you look at the word Geulah, it's an interesting word, right? The root of the word Geulah, it's Gaal, okay? Gimel, Aleph, Lamed. If you take the letter Aleph out of the word, the letter Aleph out of the word Geulah, you get the word Golah. What is Golah? Golah is the opposite, the exact opposite of Geulah. Golah is to be in an exile, to be in the diaspora, to be separate from God. The difference between Golah and Geulah is the Aleph. The Aleph represents the revelation of God. When we are talking about Geulah, write yourself or make a mental note, we are talking about revelation. We are talking about revelation of God. Geulah, sometimes translated as the word redemption. And redemption or Geulah has three aspects to it. There are three different Geulot, and I would like to describe to you the three different Geulot. There is a very important passage that is found in your Haggadah, and you read it also in the Talmud. It's recited in the Talmud. It's not out of nowhere. And when you read it, I want you to pay attention to it. When you get to the story, it's found on Tractate Pesachim, page 116. If you don't know what is Tractate Pesachim, you have to deal with Pesach. Tractate Pesachim will have to deal with Pesach. And we read a very interesting quote by Rabban Gamliel. Yes, the same Gamliel that is mentioned in the New Testament. We have to understand this in a context that even the things that are written in the New Testament, when we read other people like Yeshua and Gamliel, there is a Jewish framework, there's a Jewish context to it. And here, remember, Rabban Gamliel says about the Messianic, he says, leave them alone. If it is from God, it's from God, it will stand. If it's not from God, it's going to fall apart. Rabban Gamliel was a generation before Yeshua, and we can assume that Yeshua knew his saying from Rabban Gamliel. We can definitely assume that. Rabban Gamliel says, what is he says? But let's see. He says, I read it to you in Hebrew. Rabban Gamliel Hayom. Gamliel is saying, again, we are in Pesachim 116, Kol shelo amar, mi shelo amar shlosha dvarim, anybody who is not declared three things bepesach, lo yatsa yedei chovato. He did not observe the Pesach. Okay, what are the three things every person have to observe or have to recognize? Here they are. He says in the tractate, Pesach, matzah, umaror. You have to remember those three things. The Passover sacrifice, that's where we put the shame bone, the matzah, and the bitter herbs. Now, what do you mean? Well, I'm celebrating the Passover. I am sitting in the Passover. I am reclining. If I don't say those three things, I didn't celebrate the Passover Seder, or I didn't recognize the Passover. What did Gamliel actually meant? And actually, Gamliel explained why a person have to recognize those three things in a very personal way. And he says this, I want you to listen to it, because again, the theme of all of Pesach is Geula, and Geula have three levels, okay? The very first level is where I want to deal with you today for a few moments, okay? Look at what he's saying about the observance of Pesach, Rabban Gamliel. He says, Bechol dor vador, in every generation, from the Exodus generation, Chayav Adam, it is a duty. The word chova or chayav, it is a duty. It is a duty for anybody who partake in the Passover meal. Chayav Adam, any man who partake in the seder, lirot et atzmo, to reflect upon himself. To reflect, and that's the key, to reflect upon himself, lirot et atzmo, ke'ilu, as he hu yatsa mimitzrayim, as he left Egypt. In essence, he's saying the reason that you have to take the Pesach, the matzah, and the maror, because you need to feel it, you need to touch it, you are partaking in the spirit, because you need to see yourself as you are leaving Egypt in this day. This is called the very, very first part of Geula. The very first Geula, that is the most important Geula as we reach the higher level of Geulot. Let me describe to you the three levels. The first level is called Geula Pratit. Is when a person is redeemed, when a person receives salvation, when a person leaving Egypt. That is the lowest level of Geula. Is there such a concept in Judaism of personal salvation? People say, well, it doesn't exist. In Judaism speak only about corporal salvation. It's not true. Gamliel here comes and says here to us that every man have to see himself on an individual level as he leave Egypt. This is very, very important. Please understand something. All the Geulot in the scripture, if it is the Mosaic Geula or the Davidic or the New Covenant, have to start with the individual level. And here the text says, Gamliel says, in Tractate Psachim 1:16, that the Geula process, okay, when we're going to talk about Geula, we're going to understand there's a continuum to Geula. The second Geula is called the Geula of Israel, okay? The third Geula is a universal Geula, a global Geula, a corporal Geula, like it says, Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shmo Echad. In that day the Lord will be one and his name will be one. That's the kind of the home run. But there is an order for Geula. And one of the things, the reason that Pesach is important, because Pesach come and tell us, wait a second, there is this the macro world of the Geula, the reality. Mashiach is coming soon. God is coming. The great and terrible day, the Geula is coming. Where am I fitting in all of this? This is a question that we don't ask ourselves enough. Where am I fitting in the concept of Geula? Mashiach comes. He's not going to be worried about me. He's coming as the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Judaism comes and says, not so fast. In order to get to this day that we call the Great Geula, the corporate Geula, we must experience first a personal Geula. This is very important and this is very significant. That's one of the things I want to talk about today. The very first Geula. And here the rabbi says to us, "Bechol dor vador adam chayav lirot et atzmo ki'ilu yatsa mitzrayim." If you walk into the Passover Seder on Friday night and you don't see yourself redeemed from bondage, okay? You don't see yourself as free and redeemed. That's what Gamliel is saying. It's counted as you have not celebrated the Passover Seder. This is important. We can go to the motion, we can do the matzah, but unless you think about it, and think about this for a second. Here the Israelites already left Egypt, right? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, very interesting passage. Israel already left. And then in 12:8, he says to them, Lo ta'asu, don't do. He says to them, you are not to do after what you're doing in those days, every man according to their own eyes. What was the problem with Israel? Israel was already free. They already left Egypt. They already were walking in the wilderness. But although they were walking in the wilderness, their mind was stuck in Egypt. There are two issues here. Geulah, on a personal level, have two aspects to it. There is a physical Geulah. I know I am free. I know that I have been set free in Messiah Yeshua. A lot of you watching me right now, you know you're free. But your mind does playing trick on you because you are still acting as you're in bondage. People ask me all the time the question, do Messianic believers, can they be under bondage? Can they be under different bondages? And the answer is, of course, yes. It's happened to Israel in the wilderness for 40 years until they enter to the land. They look upon themselves and they are completely in spiritual bondage. Now, please understand something. When we talk about Geulah corporate now, the big Geulah, the big G, so it starts with the individual, it goes to Israel, and it goes to the world. When Israel received Geulah, the entire world received Geulah. Here is the way that I would like you to think about Geulah. This is the best way to consider Geulah. Imagine a bucket, and a bucket have a drop go into it every day, a tiny little drop going into the bucket and into the bucket and into the bucket. The bucket will eventually get full, okay? Each and every one of you represent a drop in the bucket. I want you to understand something. When a person overcome the Yetzer Hara, the bondage, and he overcome those things, he in essence become a drop in the bucket that hastened the great bucket, which is the corporate Geulah of the entire house of Israel. What do we want to get to? The corporate Geulah. The issue that we have today in nominal Christianity, for example, the focus is only on the personal Geulah, and there is no focus on the corporal Geulah. What's the problem in Judaism? Judaism talk about the corporal Geulah instead of talking about the individual Geulah. You see, both Geulot are necessary, but I want to stress to you again, as we're going to look at the story of Exodus, is that the Geulah start with the personal Geulah. Listen to what Rabban Gamliel says in Pesachim 1:16. It's absolutely amazing. He says this, he says, in every generation, everybody have to see himself as he come out of Egypt. And then he continue on to quote from Exodus chapter 13. You should be familiar with those words because you're going to read them in the Haggadah story. The word Haggadah is not a word that is made out by the rabbis, it's a biblical word. In Exodus chapter 13, we read, Vehigadeta lebincha bayom ahu le'emo. And you are to tell to your son, bayom ahu le'emo. And here the rabbi says the question, why does he say bayom ahu? Why does it say bayom hazeh? Aren't we to tell him about this day? Why bayom ahu? Every time that we see in the text the mention of bayom ahu speak about the future. There is a unique principle about Pesach. We live in the present, but the future become the present. Are you following what I'm explaining to you? This is very important. You're going to tell your son what's going to happen in the future, but the future happened in the wilderness. The future does not happen when you're inside the promised land. Believer always asks the question, says, we can't wait for the Messiah to come and to fix and to rectify the world and to do all those things. But here Chazal says, that scripture says, והגעת לבנך ביום ההוא לאמור. And listen to what he says. ביום ההוא לאמור. What is the next passage says in Exodus chapter 13? It's very intimate. It says, בעבור זה, for this, for what? For the salvation, for my personal salvation, עשה אדוני לי. And I want you to pay attention to this word, לי. God did to me. Why didn't it say Adonai עשה לנו? Didn't Israel receive? But the Exodus, wasn't it a corporal thing? He took out 600,000 men. Why did the text says asali singular and not plural? Matter of fact, it even says betzeti mimitzrayim, when I left Egypt. Why didn't it say when we left Egypt? Why doesn't it say when God did to us? Why is this text speaking on a personal level? Because Chaverim, Geula, if we want to see Yeshua returning, and I want you to get it today, if we truly want to see Mashiach return, we need to focus on our personal Geula with the eyes to the corporal Geula. It says, I receive a Geula, not so I go to heaven. That is not the answer. Here is the answer. I receive Geula. I work out my Geula in fear and trembling so that the global Geula will come first to Israel and then to the world. You see, this sounds very different. It sounds very, very different, because what they're telling you, go receive the Lord and be saved and you're good, everything is good. No, that is not the message. The message of Passover is a message to remind you to work out your little drop that have to go to the bucket. Is coming to remind you and I just how important our personal salvation is. Rabban Gamliel explained to us that the Pesach, although it's a corporal, he's talking about the corporal salvation of the house of Israel. It's coming to remind each and every one of you how important it is in the heavens. Yes, friends, your Geula, your redemption, your salvation, you understanding that you overcoming bondages today have a heavenly, eternal impact on the salvation. You know why? Because it's not a drop. Imagine a hose that is filling a bucket. Now you turn the hose, you turn the water pressure faster. Now the water is coming down a little faster. The bucket is filled in. And that's why Chazal is saying here that in essence, Pesach is the ultimate time. It's called in Hebrew Shat Kosher. It's the time that comes to remind us that we can hasten the coming of the ultimate Geula. Bayom Ha'u. Tell your people. By the way, the word vehegadeta, it's not to tell. You are to proclaim it. You are to proclaim it to the next generation. Our job today as we walk to Pesach is number one, to remove the chametz. Why? First, we clean up. You know, before you go to get blood work, what do? They clean you up. They clean you up before it's going to poke you. That's kind of the same way with your personal Geula. First, God clean you up and tell you, get rid of the chametz, remove the chametz. It's going to hurt a little bit, but I am going to prepare you as a vessel for your Geula. There is a message here to everybody. It's a global message. It's a message of the global Geula. We don't think about it. A personal Geula impact the couple Geula. Let me prove it to you. Think about for a moment the story of the Exodus. How did the Exodus start? Did God just magically go and just delivered 600,000 men? No. He had to deliver the one man, and this man had to be delivered. He had to have a personal experience with the God of Israel. And through this one person, in this case, is Moshe Rabbeinu, all the Geula come to the entire house of Israel. You can be this person. You can be the person who, through your action, the Geula will come to your city and to your nation, and to you can be like a Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Chag Pesach come to tell us that if you overcome those things, you can be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Look with me for a second in the text, right? In Exodus chapter 6, I just want to remind you, God is sending Moshe Rabbeinu, and what Moshe Rabbeinu tell, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe le'emor, God says to Moshe, Ani Adonai, I am the Lord. דבר אל פרעה מלך מצרים, speak to Pharaoh, the Egyptian king, את כל אשר אני דובר אליך, everything I tell you. ויאמר משה לפני אדוני. And Moses said before Adonai, הן אני, ערל שפתיים, I'm a man of uncircumcised lips. How will he listen to me, Pharaoh? How will Pharaoh listen to me? I want you to understand that in chapter 6 of the book of Exodus, Moshe Rabbeinu is yet to have an experience with the mighty one of Israel, not a personal experience, because he felt that the salvation will come through him, through his lips, through his action, not through God, not with God, but through Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had to have an experience with God in order to become Moshe Rabbeinu. And that is the same thing that each and every one of you have to follow. Some of you want to have a Geulah in your families. You want to have a Geulah in your families? Don't look at your families. Don't try to correct your family. There is a principle here. And I want you to understand this principle loud and clear. Look at your own life. Look at your own life and say, what do I need to overcome in your own life? People contact me all the time, say, you don't understand, there's something wrong, my environment is wrong, my setting is wrong. And I'm telling you something, when Moshe Rabbeinu looked at all the crowd of Israel, and he says, I am going to choose somebody, he chose Joshua son of Nun. Why? The text says, Joshua ben Nun, היה לו רוח אחרת. He had another spirit. He doesn't say what spirit he had. The Torah doesn't say what spirit he said. It said he had ruach acheret. Chazal come and they explain that the ruach acheret that he had is that he was able to deal on a spiritual level and overcome any other spirit. Are you following what I'm telling you? It wasn't his intelligence, it wasn't his Torah knowledge. It was the fact that he was so strong spiritually that even if a person came to him who wasn't strong spiritually, maybe even an unclean spirit, he was able to withstand him. This is a very important point for all of us to understand today, that if we want to see Geulah in our life, we need to change the metziut, the reality that we live in. You say, well, Rabbi Shapira, how do I change the reality? What do I do to change the reality? Remember that in Hebrew, reality is metziut. Metziut, that's the word for reality, that derived from the two words, motzi, like bring forth, ot, letter, bring out the words. Whatever you're going to speak, that's what is going to be. And this is important for us to understand. If the key for everything is what is coming out of our lips, and remember Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ani arel sfatayim. He said, no, my reality is that I can't do anything. And God said to him, you fool. Don't you understand that I am the creator of reality? And if you speak the reality through me, I will make the reality come up. Isn't it true that God spoke everything into existence? I'm telling you today that Pesach is a time for us to speak. If you want to start with your personal redemption, what you need to do right now, even if you chair and you sit when you watch me, you need to say, I am redeemed in the name of Yeshua, and I will speak only the word of redemption and only the word of life. If you're around people who just speak negative, don't be around them. You don't need that into your life. You need people who will speak the word of life and the word of redemption into you. This is very, very important. As a matter of fact, look how Moshe overcame it. There are two things you can do, because everything starts in personal geula. And I believe that if you want to change the reality, Pesach is the best time. It's the month of Nisan, the month of Nisim, the month of miracles. It's the best time to do it, friends. This is not a crazy theological teaching. This is a pastoral teaching that I'm giving you right now. And I am telling you something. Don't do what Moshe did. When Moshe did what God told him to do, the reality changed for Moses, and the reality changed for his family, 600,000 Jewish men. You want to change reality? Start by doing the things God told you to do. Look what it says in the very next chapter. So remember, in Exodus 6, God tell him, do it. Moses says, no, I didn't have an experience. But look what Moses did. He says this, I love this verse. Chapter 7, verse 6. It says, Vayas Moshe ve'Aaron. And Moshe did kasher tziva Adonai otam ken asu. Everything that God commanded Moshe Rabbeinu to do, he did. Why do we need Torah? Why do we need Torah? Please understand, when it says Asiyah, the doing, write yourself Asiyah equal Torah. Why do we need Torah? People don't understand. A Torah is almost like, have you ever went to a big sporting game? Like, before I go to play, what do? I take with me a giant thing of Gatorade, and I just gobble it down before the game. It just pumped me up to be able to perform a little bit better in the soccer game or tennis or whatever I do. That is kind of like what the Torah is supposed to do. Torah is like a steroid, okay? The Torah is like a steroid, and if you take it in, really take it in all the way in, you will be able to overcome the obstacles. How do I know if a person truly keep the Torah, observe the Torah? It's simple. It's not if you know the Hebrew or you know the Hava Nagila. I just want to look at one parameter of his life. How many bondages does the person have? How many bondages does he have? If a person does not have bondages, it means that he lives his life according to the Torah. The Torah does not come to give you bondage. On the contrary, the Torah comes to remove the bondages, to give Israel the way to overcome them. That's why, when Moses went and engraved the Torah, it says he engraved the Torah. But the Torah is, the word engraving is equivalent to the word freedom. The word Hebrew engraving is with a tet. The word freedom is with a taf. And actually, instead of using the tet, it's using the taf. It says, in essence, as Moses did the mitzvah, as Moses did what God told him to do, guess what happened to Moses? He received freedom. He received freedom. Do we need to receive freedom? Well, depends. For what purpose? If it is freedom for us to say, well, we are saved and we know the Lord and we're good, then forget it. That's not the point of the Torah. The point of the Torah is for you to reach a level of salvation that you can become an accepted vessel in the bucket that's called the house of Israel. Now you're a good drop inside the bucket, and you are ready to really make an impact on the house of Israel. And this is very important. This is significant. As a matter of fact, as we read this, I want you to really think about this on the context of the Agadah. In the Agadah, the numbers are very important. The number 4 is very important. We're talking about the 4 sons, the 4 cups of wine, the four questions. Think about it. Why 4 is so important? Because we read Exodus chapter 6, verse 6, verses that you probably read a million times when you read the story of the Gada. But I want you to think about them for a moment in the context of the beginning of the verse. This is important. I can't stress it enough. If we don't have a personal Messianic Judaism as a movement, has to be a movement that is lifted up from bondages. When we want to have a bondage as a movement, then we will be able to really impact the house of Israel. Sadly, I tell you, for me, when I look at the body of Messiah and I look at the world and I look at Christians, I don't notice any difference. We still have the same bondages as everybody else. That is very, very sad. And God brought us this Pesach to tell you, yo, you can be better. You can do better. You can rise above the surface. You can overcome those things. And you need to walk into the Pesach Seder knowing that you are walking out of Egypt. That you are walking out of Egypt. Now listen to Exodus 6:6. To the beginning of Exodus 6:6. It's important. He said, therefore, lachen emor libnei Israel. The key word of Exodus 6:6 in understanding the process of Geulah. How do we get to a personal Geulah? How do we go? Really, what I'm talking to you today is about your salvation. You might think that your salvation is complete, but I am talking about the fullness of your personal salvation. How do you know that you are full of your personal salvation? Look what God says to Israel. He says, Lachen emor lebnei Israel. Therefore say to the children of Israel. The key word in this text is the word emor. Okay? Chazal came and says that it is related to the end of the passage, which is Exodus 6:6 to 6:8. He says, therefore say to the children of Israel, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm going to do all of those things, and I'm going to tell you why. And important to asking the question, why? He says, that I will give you the land as morasha. I will give you the land as an inheritance. In essence, the goal is not to say, hey, so the goal is not, hey, Rabbi Shapira, the goal is for you to be saved. That's not the point. I can be saved and everybody around me dying. What is that achieve? I know it's contrary to what you learn in churches. By the way, I noticed my button is not buttoned. Okay, hold on a second. Let me button my button so I don't look like a schlopper. Here we go. This is important. The salvation, if you want to see the complete map of salvation, it's end up in Exodus 6:8. I will give you the land as an inheritance. I'll give it to you, to all of you. A complete salvation is not your personal salvation. Sorry. It's a complete salvation. It means that all of Israel being saved and the entire world and the entire globe and everything and everybody in it is being saved. That is the ultimate salvation. The ultimate revelation of God in the world. Right? In that way, the Lord will be one and His name will be one. That is an ultimate salvation. That is our goal. That is the home run. Not the fact that you know the Lord and I know the Lord. Big deal. Who cares about me? What about us? The me is important only as a mean to get us to the us. Are you following what I'm telling you? But when we make it all about me, I, and me, that's when we fall into a trap, beloved. So here Chazal said, the point is to get to the morasha. Now remember that in Hebrew the word morasha and the word Yerusha, I spoke about this before, is in the same word, it's the same root. Two different types of inheritance, morasha and Yerusha. What is the difference between those inheritance? Morasha, the inheritance that God promised Israel here in Exodus chapter 6 in the context of the Passover Exodus, is a conditional morasha. It's a conditional morasha that is based upon 4 things that he's going to do. 4 exiles that he's going to do. Okay, 4 cups. Each cup represents a different exile. The exile of Paras, the exile of Babel, the exile of Persia, the exile of Greek, and the worst exile of all is the exile of Edom. What is Edom? The exile of Christianity today. Beloved, when people leaving Christianity into the authentic Messianic Jewish faith, I need to explain to you what God is doing now prophetically. Okay, prophetically, what is God is doing? He is breaking right now the very final exile from the nations, because remember, he is preparing the world, not just the Jewish people. He's preparing the world to receive the ultimate revelation, the ultimate light of Mashiach. What do you think? God does not care about the Gentiles? God is just the God of the Jews? No, God cares about everybody. He cares about everybody. And the reason he cares about everybody, because he loves his creation. So he is in essence preparing the world here. And he say, only way you're going to do it is through preparing for a morasha, not Yerusha. Israel promises, although Paul says that they're irrevocable, they are still with condition. And I need you to understand it. And look what Chazal are saying here. This is important to understand it. The last galut here is galut Edom. And the second we break the galut of the Edom, we already broke all the other galuyot. In the second that we break the yoke of 2,000 years of Christianity, the second that we do that, the Messiah will be ready to come and bring salvation to Israel. Let me say to you in a simple terms so you understand. If you're watching me right now, listen carefully. If you're not Jewish and you're truly adopting yourself and grafting yourself to the Jewish people, okay? If you're truly engrafting yourself, not just in your words, in your life, in your asiyah, in your practice, and you overcome the bondages, okay? And yes, Christianity is a bondage. I want to tell you it is a bondage. It is. When you overcome those things, guess what? Guess what you end up doing? You, in essence, impacting Israel's salvation and the world's salvation in the most cosmic way that you cannot even imagine. Let me tell you what happened in the last month in our ministry. We launched work in Germany, in French. We're working on Chinese now. Every language now. Why? Why is it happening? Because it's not because we're looking to God is waking up his people right now in a way that you cannot even imagine. I envision the Messianic, the real, authentic, remnant, Messianic believers to grow in the last days. Leap and bounce is going to be growth like we have never seen before. Watch it and believe for it right now. Listen to what Chazal saying here. They said something important. He said the word emor to Bnei Israel related to the matter of the end of the passage. Verse 8, Natati lahem morasha. I explained it to you. But this is important. He said, just, by the way, I am quoting from a book called Emek Davar. You can look it up. It's available only in Hebrew if you're interested. I just took the liberty of translating it to you. Just as the passage of dealing from the departure of Egypt, the language, God says, I will 4 times. It's called Lashon. Rashi says it's called Lashon Geula. It's a language of Geula, okay? A language of Geula. And here is the key. The essence of redemption. Here we go. I want you to listen to that. The essence of redemption is to bring Israel to a special place whilst they are busy. And they are busy in the process of Exodus. What does that mean? As they are busy in the process of Exodus. In essence, this is the key. We have been leaving Egypt. We departed from Egypt. The bus is left, but we are still in the wilderness today. Everybody need to understand us. Mashiach Tzidkenu is yet we're there. We are in the wilderness. We are not in the promised land. The church is foolish to think that they're in the promised land right now. They're not. Why? Because Israel is not in the promised land. How do I know that? Well, didn't we pray this morning the Amidah prayer? The 18th benediction, the 19th benediction, didn't we say in the Amidah, Baruch Atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato LeTzion? Blessed are you, King of universe, who return the Shekinah to Zion. Well, what do you mean return the Shekinah to Zion? We are already in Zion. What do you mean? The Shekinah is not in Zion, not to the fully, because Mashiach is not there. And why Mashiach is not there? Because we are not ready to fill the vessel that will bring the Messiah. That is the point of the Pesach. Pesach comes to remind us, hey, you, by overcoming a bondage, a personal bondage, you overcoming a personal bondage today. Well, guess what? By overcoming your personal bondage today, you're one step closer to the promised land. You are one step closer to this. Pay attention to the language of the rabbi. He said, you are to be diligent at the process of the Exodus. What does that mean? You notice when Jewish people study Torah, it's always about the details, right? Torah is about details. When you talk to a Christian, usually about studying the Word of God, what do they want to tell you? I'm led by the Spirit, okay? That's also a code word I learned. I led to the Spirit, not to deal with the details. When you deal, think about it. I'm living somewhere. I'm leaving Egypt, right? And it says we are to live the chipazon. We are to live quickly. How am I living something quickly? I am packing things diligent, quickly, right? The word chipazon is mean quickly. I'm packing things quickly, but I'm also being very diligent. I'm being very diligent. We, as Messianic movement, we need to become diligent in the process of the Geulah. The time Israel is for leaving Egypt and walking into the promised land is Geulah. It's Geulah. Yes, you're in the wilderness. Yes, you're in the middle of all the schmaltz. But that's Geulah. That's part of a Geulah. It is not the climatic ending of the Geulah. It's not the end of the Geulah, but we are in the Messianic era. That's why the rabbi said the Messianic era started 2,000 years ago. We are in a state of Geulah. And all what Pesach come to do is to tell us, hey, you can move a little faster. Hey, you don't have to drag your feet. Hey, come on, let's get moving. I believe that as Messianic Jewish movement, we are passive. There is a passivity in Messianic Judaism today that I cannot understand. I cannot explain. Why are we not going to every corner in the world as Messianic Jews? I am sorry. Messianic Judaism have a calling greater than New York City, greater than Philadelphia, greater than Los Angeles. Messianic Judaism have a calling in Africa. Messianic Judaism has a calling in Asia. Messianic Judaism have a calling in South America. Messianic Judaism has a calling in Europe, where the name of Yeshua has been desecrated by the Nazis. Messianic Judaism have a place in Israel. We cannot just operate it in a place that we can benefit. And here Chazal say something so important. They say, Mi'ata, from now on, your entire duty, la'asok beyetziat mitzrah. At the beginning of the shiur, I pray, blessed are you, King of the universe, who commanded us, la'asok, to be diligent in the word of Torah. Why we are to be diligent? What the word la'asok? It comes from the word esek, to be in the business. I need to explain this to you. We are in business of the kingdom, and then you're running the business of the king. You cannot be inside business. Too many people are running 3 different businesses. They want to be on Shabbat on the pulpit or Sunday on the pulpit, and then they want to do other things on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Wear different hats. You cannot. If you are committed to the essence of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and I'm not saying you cannot have two jobs, I've done that for many, many years, but your demeanor in everything, in your job, in this, is to be busy. This Chazal Sedir la'asok beyetziat Mitzrayim. This is the principle, and this is the purpose, okay? The essence beyetziat Mitzrayim, and to bring everybody else to get out of Yetziat Mitzrayim with you. You hearing what I'm saying to you? Because again, we're preparing a vessel here. It started with the individual, it's go to the corporate, and then it's going to ultimately to the entire world. Geulah have 3 layers. The question I am asking you today, do you sometimes want to go back to Egypt, so you leave and don't go back? Remember, when Avraham Avinu left, what he says to him, he said to him, Lech lecha me'artzecha Mimoladetecha me'eretz avicha. Why is he saying it like this? Go from the country you were born, from the city you were born, from the land, from the house of your father. Why can't he just tell him go? Chazal says that he says to Abraham, go in 3 levels, because he said you are to go and never come back. The point of the matter is that Pesach comes to remind us that when we leave Egypt, when we are in the process of the Geulah, yes, you're going to have obstacles along the way, but you can never go back. You can never return. It is talking about a true process of the conversion of the heart. I hope that you will walk into the Pesach season with a real conversion of the heart. Remember also that in the Pesach, this is important to remember, in the Pesach, there were only 20% of the people who left. What happened to the other 80%? They didn't leave. They stayed behind. Why did they stay behind? They stayed behind because they didn't want to take a risk. Beloved, if you really want to experience Geulah Pratit, remember, the Geulah does not start in Egypt. The Geulah started when they hit the city limit and they are the wilderness. People, I know that it's easy to stay in Christianity. I know for Jewish people who are watching me, I know it's easy to say, I remain in normative Judaism, I'll be easy. Because the second you go to the middle, you go to the wilderness, you're going to be alone from time to time. It is true. But that's where the Geulah started. And that's what Chazal is telling us here, that the Geulah is starting only in the wilderness. So we have to go to the wilderness. This is our call. This is our mandate, to go to the wilderness. Let me say a word to the going for specifically. It's interesting that a goyim also have to go through the same process of journey. Remember, that's the first time we see a picture of, and it's important us to remember that the final Geulah will resemble the Geulah of Pesach, right? In the book of Micah, chapter 7:15, it says that the last Geulah will be a continuation of the Geulah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Well, what happened with Geulah of Moshe Rabbeinu? It says that some of the goyim engrafted themselves to the house of Israel. They joined to the house of Israel. I was mulling about this idea of the engrafting again and again and again. And this passage came to my mind from the Ephesians, and I want to give you a chidush on this verse that maybe I never teach before, on Ephesians Chapter 2, right? Look with me, if you have your Bible. It says in Ephesians 2, verse 19. I use the Franz Delitzsch specifically for a purpose. Look what it says. It says, therefore, lachem, einechem od gerim vetoshavim. You are not a ger or toshav. Why do you mean ger vetoshav? Because remember, a ger, you can be a ger toshav. That's a low-level ger. He's not a ger tzedek. He's not fully accepted in the community. And Shaul says, אתה לא גר תושב. You're not Nochri, you're not foreigner, and you're not Ger Toshav. It's very, very important to understand the terminology that is used by Rav Shaul. He said, Lo Ger Toshav. Seems to pay attention to this. You are not Ger Toshav. Ki bnei iram shel hakdoshim. You are a member of the city of the holy ones. Who is it? Of Israel, of the Jewish people. He's talking here to the Goyim. He said you can become a citizen. You can get your citizenship through Mashiach. But here, how you receive this citizenship, it's very important to understand it. It said, "Shel hakshudim ubnei bet Elohim atem." He called them bnei bait. The term that Shaul, it's never dawned on me before. The term that Rav Shaul is actually using in the text. Rav Shaul saying that the Goyim are called Bnei Bait. What is the meaning of Bnei Bait? This is important. If you understand that, you understand how to move forward with the Pesach. Ben Bait. Let's say I come and visit one of my friends, and I come and stay with them for 3 days. The very first day I come, I walked into the house. I will be very, very polite. I will not open the refrigerator. I will try not to make any mess. I will be very, very good, a good guest. Okay, very good guest. The second day and the third day, as I become more familiar with the house and so forth, when it's come to make a morning meal, Shabbat meal, let's say I stay over the Shabbat, what I will do, I will roll my sleeves and I start, open the refrigerator. So, oh, okay, you have an egg, you have potatoes, here we go. Here we go, I roll my sleeves. Here we go. Give me egg potato, let's start making the food. That's called in Hebrew, ben bait. A ben bait in Hebrew is one who take upon himself the ownership of the house. He take upon himself the burden of keeping the house in order. When you are a guest at somebody else, you don't care what's happening. The house falling apart. Oh, bye-bye, I'm going to a hotel, right? I don't care. But when you become a ben bait, what happened? It's very important. When you become ben bait, you take yourself the ownership and the burdenship of their house. And Pesach is a time that the church, the nations, the Goyim have to come on in and understand that they have an invitation. They have a unique invitation to be Bnei Bait again. I want to talk to the Goyim for a second. You can be Ben Bait. But if you are Ben Bait, you cannot talk about us Jews and say them. You need to say it's us. The burden of the Jewish people have to become your burden. You cannot talk about the Jewish people in a third way or a third person. Whatever the house of Israel going through, whatever the house of Israel observe, you have to do it. Can you imagine if I was, let's say that I'm in all kosher home, and you know, I said to my friends, they're making a food for me, and I said, no, that's okay. I'm just going to go down the street. I'm going to go get Mickey D. I'm going to get McDonald's. And now they make the Shabbat meal, and I'm eating McDonald's. You know, what do you think they're going to do? Am I a Ben Bait? No, I'm no longer a Ben Bait. The Goyim need to learn what it means to be Ben Bait. Part of the Geula of the Goy. I need to explain to you something. The Geula of the Goy means that the Goy learn to be Ben Bait. And that's what the point of Rav Shaul here. He says in the verse, Ubnei bet Elohim atem. The Bait is the Bait of the Jewish people. He's God, the Jewish people. And here he says to the Goyim, come on in, be Bnei Batim. But hey, leave everything away. Leave your McDonald's bag at the door. Don't need to be so polite even. Or what we need you to do, Gentiles. Listen, I tell it to Gentiles all the time. Hey, you know what? It's not about you making mistakes. I don't have a problem with the Gentile who make a mistake, okay? You know what I have a problem? I have a problem with the Gentile who come to Messianic Judaism and he doesn't do anything to contribute. That's where I have the problem. I have a problem with the Gentile who just want to hoard and acquire knowledge, so he will be so smart and so smug and so arrogant and so full of himself and do nothing with the knowledge. That's where I have a problem with. Paul says that you can become Ben Bite, but in order to do it, you have to, number one, break the yoke, right? Break the yoke of Edom. Number two, act like a Ben Bite. Pesach is a time that we are inviting the Goy. We're inviting actually those who want to join us. Anybody who want to join the house of Israel to come on in. Notice that in the story of Pesach, we're talking about the 4 sons. Okay? There are four sons in the story. Who is the 5th son in this story? The 5th son in the story, the one who is returning actually. Okay? He's the Goyim. It is the nations who are returning. They are the son that is wicked. He's returning. God help us if we don't help him to return. We have to help him to return. Look at Exodus 6 with me again. This is very important. It says in Exodus 6 again. Therefore said to children of Israel, I am Adonai. I brought you from the out of the burdens of the Egyptian. I will deliver you. I will redeem you from an outstretched arm and great judgment, and I will take you to be my people. He says, Hotzeti, Hitzalti, Ga'alti, Velakachti. 4 exiles. But wait. What about the 5th thing? Ve'eveti etchem. I will bring you to the land. The climatic end of the story. I will bring you to the land. Why is it that we pour the 5th cup of wine in Israel and we don't drink the 5th cup of wine? Why do we leave the 5th cup of wine open? Because the 5th son is yet to join the Seder table. Who is the 5th son that have to join the Seder table? The Hebrew word Chamesh, flip the letter, is Mashiach. It is the Messiah and the Goyim who have to join the Seder table. And only then, and then only, we will be able to drink the 5th cup of wine. I hope you understand what I am teaching you today. In Judaism, the 5th cup, I brought you to the land. We don't drink the 5th cup, okay? We call it Eliyah, we call it the future Geula. The question is why? Because the 5th cup, Chamesh, represents the 5th son. In Judaism, the 5th son called the prodigal son. The prodigal son, if I understand it correctly, is none other than Mashiach and the nation and the Goyim who have to bring them with them. What I'm suggesting to you today is when you return and you come the 4 Galuyot, okay, the 4th one, when you come back, you don't come back alone. You bring somebody with you to the Seder table. It is the Mashiach. That's why the fullness of the Goyim is so important for this season. It is through you that the Geula is coming to the house of Israel. And I want you to understand this. This is not an easy journey because you not going to be fully understand where am I in the journey. I know the Goyim always want to know, am I saved, yes or no? No, that's a wrong question to ask. Here is the way Israel answering the question. We're somewhere along the way. We're in the process of Geula. We are not in Egypt. We are not in the promised land yet. We're somewhere in the middle. But God revealing himself somewhere in the middle. Most of the miracles happening in the wilderness. But you have to overcome it. You have to return. This is our challenge today to the Goyim, to the nations. Your Geula, remember Moshe Rabbeinu, going to lead to Israel Geula. Israel Geula will restore the Geula for the entire world. The question is simple as you celebrate Pesach. How much you want the Geula? How much you're willing to give? Do you want to be Ben Bait? Fine. Be a Ben Bait. But know something. If you become Ben Bait, you're responsible. You are responsible for the house of Israel. The question is, are you willing truly to take upon yourself the entire burden of the house of Israel? I can say, when meeting tens of thousands of Gentiles over the years, that only a remnant truly willing to take upon themselves the burden of the house of Israel. But this remnant is growing, and you're part of this remnant that is growing. I know that. And we want to see you grow on this journey together with us. And that's our wish for you. May this Pesach will be a season for a real personal Geula for you. A real, indeed, personal Geula, not for you, for Israel, for Mashiach. You've been missing from the Seder table for 2,000 years, along with Mashiach. The four sons of Israel are waiting you to come and join and sit on the Seder table and bring the Messiah with you. So do this for Messiah, with Messiah, because of Messiah, not for your own gain, but for the gain of Israel and for the gain of the world, of humanity. This is my prayers to you. May, in the name of Yeshua, you will experience the redemptive power that can come as you walk forward in the wilderness. Walk forward. Hashem will do miracles and it will change your reality. I promise you it will. But just walk forward with the entire house of Israel. May it be so, and may the Geula will speedily come for the entire house of Israel. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in so late for the shiur. Your personal Geula means everything to heavens. Don't forget it. And just as I said that, a giant storm, a giant thunderstorm just hit above my house. When I say that, I believe that heavens heard me and heavens agree with me. Azinu, give ear in this next week. Your personal Geula means everything to heavens. God bless you. חג שמח. נתראות חברים.